Today on the 1012 Picks Pod, myself and Chase Kiddy are joined by Bob Demyn of CFB900 to make picks for every single Big 12 game on the Week 6 slate. That includes BYU versus West Virginia, Colorado to TCU, and Houston versus Texas Tech, plus our thoughts on Big 12 football heading across the pond to London. Coming up on the 1012 Picks Pod.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
If you're shopping while working, eating, or even listening to this podcast, then you know and love the thrill of a deal. But are you getting the deal and cash back? Rakuten shoppers do. They get the brands they love, savings, and cash back. And you can get it too. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Levi's, Plow & Hearth, Adidas, Sephora, and Neiman Marcus. Stack sales on top of cash back and feel what it's like to know you're maximizing the savings. And it's easy to use. And you get your cash back sent to you through PayPal or check. The idea is simple. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cash back. Download the free Rakuten app or go to Rakuten.com to start saving today. It's the most rewarding way to shop. That's Rakuten. Rakuten.com.
Welcome to the 1012 Picks Pod, where every week myself, Phillip, Slavin, and Chase Kiddy from BetMGM welcome a guest to help us make picks for every Big 12 game on the schedule. Of course, the 1012 podcast is the flagship show of the 1012 Network, and find every show on the network at 1012network.com. That's TEN, the number 12, the word network. I think you can figure out the rest. And of course, we are partners with Sports Social, Europe's biggest sports podcast network. Wherever you are listening, do us a favor, leave us 5 stars and a review. It really does help the show out. It takes you a few seconds. It does me immense good, both for the show and just my own, my own mental state. I feel a lot of stress right now because it's the busy time of year with a kindergartner and a first grader and a 3-year-old and soccer and tennis and dance. And there's homework. How many letters can a child identify in 1 minute? That's a piece of homework. Point is, leave us a nice review. I would appreciate it. Chase, my friend, how are you, sir? How are the twins, bud?
They're great. They are attempting to walk. I don't want to slide past the news here. The people demand, Phillip. They demand that you release the lost audio from last week. They demand it.
I know. And I have, some of it is usable, but the entire, end of the episode is unsalvageable. Now I could pull you and Parker's JMU tangent. I need to pull my the conversation about Mike Gundy because I don't have anything out there about my thoughts on Gundy, even though I have plenty of them. And so there's bits and pieces I could pull off. But as far as the episode as a whole, by the end of it is just it's bad. It's bad podcasting. It's bad audio. It's not good unless people just like to hear. I mean, it's one thing to watch a train wreck. It's another thing to have to just listen to it. I don't know if that's equally as satisfying for, masochists, but it's not a great ending. It's not a great ending.
What do you think is in a better state right now? The audio from last week or Oklahoma State's offense?
I'll say the offense. Now ask me about the defense. That's where all the red shirts are popping up, and DC's getting fired.
Arizona team total this week.
Maybe. That's a nice tease because we'll pick that game. And speaking of very excited. Always love getting a first-time guest on the show, especially when that first-time guest comes in at the 11th hour to save us by coming on the podcast. Everybody, we're very excited to welcome Bob Demyn to the show. Bob, welcome. Thank you for being our guest picker tonight, bud.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Excited to do it.
It's funny. Okay, so Bob and I here are both avid fans of the BetUS College Football Show, and so watch it on YouTube on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Now, some Tuesdays I don't get to it because at the same time I got to pick up the youngest from school, but Wednesday I usually do. And Chase and I were texting this morning because I was like, I don't have a guest. Do you have anybody? He was like, I'll ask some people, and I was like, I'll ask some people. We keep asking people, and nothing's working out. And then lo and behold, they're in the chat because the chat is always fun on the BetUS College Football Show on Wednesdays. Bob mentions on his podcast, and I was like, oh, hey, what's your podcast? Then he tells me, and I go look it up, and next thing you know, I'm like, fine, it's gone. Twitter, follow, DM, hey, man, you want to come on the podcast tonight and do some picks? And he goes, yeah, all right. He goes, are you Chase? No. Oh, he knows Chase. So I got two people who already know each other. It just, you know what? Sometimes it's just kismet. God works in mysterious ways, right? And so here we are, and very excited to welcome one of the hosts of College Football Betting 900, CFB900. Bob, thrilled to have you. Tell us a little bit about CFB900 and a little bit about your general philosophy and thoughts on betting college football.
Yeah, CFB900 is a new podcast venture we just started this year with my buddy Corey Betts, and it's just that. So it's supposed to be actionable college football info, and we try to do it in 900 seconds or less, which is approximately 15 minutes. Do some in and outs on a couple of the big games of the week, give out a couple best bets, go over the market, and we do shows on Sunday. I do shows Sundays and Wednesdays. And then we have a prop guy, the Water Boy, we're doing a show with Corey on Fridays. So in your podcast feeds 3 times a week. And it's been a real fun getting the feed going as we started literally week 0 this year. So and have had a ton of success, good feedback, relative to a new podcast venture. So having fun and doing that so far. So appreciate you having me on, like I said. And then I guess to the second part of your question, kind of the betting philosophy, if you will. I specialize. I really only do college football. I make power numbers. I bet early, Sunday, Monday, try to get the best of the number. Baseball playoffs. Yeah, it'll be on the TV in the other room. But I'm not betting that for any real amounts. If I bet it at all, I'll just, enjoy it. Working all spring, summer. Mostly I create team profiles, quick facts, so I can kind of just look at, a simple one pager and kind of get everything I need to know about there, and then kind of react to market info. And then also I think a big key is knowing what you're weak at, listen to others on roster talent, scouting, X's and O's. I can't break down an inside zone or, passing concepts, but it's about mashing all the information together and then using it to your advantage and betting good numbers.
Good advice. I love the part you mentioned of, look, I'm not going to pretend to know what I don't know, and I'll rely on others for that and lean into the things that I feel confident and comfortable in. Chase, you just know everything. You're a know-it-all. And so how does that line up with you?
I mean, I don't know about that. That's a big accusation of knowing everything. I don't know that I could really live up to that. I'll just say this about what Bob said. I've done a few Twitter spaces with Bob in the betting circles. When you're talking to people online that you don't really know in real life, there is a vocabulary and a cadence and an ease of topic that you pick up on when you are talking and listening to somebody that actually knows what they're talking about. A lot of people could put the letters EV in their Twitter profile. Bob knows what he's talking about. And so I would add on top of that I have seen the market research internally at my own place of work that says there is a huge need from the audience for good quality podcasts that are 10 to 15 minutes or less. And so I think the summary there is, I think from my experience with Bob, he knows what he's talking about. I do not say this about every guest that comes on the show automatically. I'm not just, blowing smoke up your ass here. I think he knows what he's talking about. And I think his podcast is filling a legitimate void in the space. So I think CFB900 is pretty cool.
I appreciate that, Chase. I really do, and I enjoyed the time on the Twitter Space with you last year as well, and was excited to be on with you on the show tonight.
Well, look, we are thrilled to have you. Chase does not say that many nice things about our guests normally, and so I believe that's high praise. That's high praise is the way to respond to that. Before we get to last week's picks and this week's picks, it's official. The Big 12 is going overseas again next season, this time for the first college football game to be played in London at Wembley Stadium, September 19th. We're shipping Arizona State and Kansas overseas to London for some college football. It became official today. The press release is out. They're calling this one the Union Jack Classic. This will be the third Big 12 football game in 2 seasons played in Europe. Obviously, we had Farmageddon in week 0 this year and the Aer Lingus Classic. We're going to have TCU North Carolina in week 0 next season in Ireland for the Aer Lingus, and we're going to have a game on September 19th. So not week 0, a little bit later in the season, but a conference game again overseas. Look, Big 12 Mexico didn't work out. It didn't work. And so we can, people want to poke at it, and look, they got a little bit of the cart before the horse when they announced all that, and we're going to do all this, and then it didn't work out. It didn't happen. They should have maybe slowed their roll a little bit, but they have changed course. The Big 12 has. Now you've got a game in London. You're going to have back-to-back years of the Big 12 team in Ireland. We know that games in Vegas are coming for a neutral site and non-conference games. I have a feeling the Big 12 is not, this London thing's not going to be a one-off. Like the Big 12 would like to continue to have a game in London on a regular basis. And so I don't think this is a one-off Union Jack Classic featuring Big 12 teams. I get the feeling this is going to be something that they want to try and make an annual thing where the Big 12 is almost always in that game. Kind of like usually for Aer Lingus, there's an ACC team. Like you go look at the history of that game. It's weird to not have an ACC team in that game, and to have 2 Big 12 teams was pretty phenomenal. Next year we got North Carolina. The year after that's Pitt, Wisconsin. So to have a game overseas that is the Big 12 is just going to kind of be there every year, I think it's a phenomenal thing. I get that it's different than it's not in week 0, so it's a little bit, quite the attention of week 0. But look, there is a growing fan base for college football across the pond. There's a phenomenal college football podcast that covers college football over there, and they do a great job. And so I get it, makes sense. The College Chaps podcast is the name of that one. If you guys haven't listened to it before, we've had them on the show. I need to get them back on again. They do an incredible job. There is a thirst for college football, and so I would love for the Big 12 to help satisfy that thirst and help grow a market over there, because it's only going to help you. It's only going to help things. Chase, what are your thoughts on Big 12 London? And should West Virginia go over there? You okay with the Mountaineers going over to potentially London and playing a football game?
My gut immediate reaction was, wow, I guess the people, the good people in the state of Kansas really didn't learn any lessons going over there this year, huh? But I mean, I think it's cool. I think I would love to go to Europe and watch my team play. I think there's probably a lot of people that would enjoy singing Country Roads in the UK, would be my guess. I think this is more of a West Virginia specific topic. I would wonder about like how many people have the funds for a trip like that. I think a lot of the older snowbirds that have left the state and now live in Florida or like Hilton Head, or like we're all over the Southeast. I think those guys probably have it, but it's pretty hard right now to get into Morgantown for a game day. Morgantown's gotten pretty expensive, so I'm guessing London is probably not possible for a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, that would be a really fun place to go for a game, I'm sure.
Bob, what are your thoughts on the games overseas, man? Bob, you are muted.
I think you're good. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, it delayed for some reason. I was hitting it, so I hit it twice. It was my fault. No, so the first couple things that stick out in my mind, obviously with the Kansas Arizona State game, is noting that it's not week 0. So what are the bye week situations that are going to be happening around that, coming off that trip? We saw that with Kansas State and North Dakota and this year. And then obviously Iowa State, South Dakota, I believe it was. In that one. And then if it's the game in Dublin, I also just I need to know if Kansas State and Florida State shared the same locker room, and I need to know what team next year has that locker room. Because clearly something is going on with that when a team kind of gets the Dublin flu or something and has a season from hell, if you will. So
Nebraska, don't forget about Nebraska.
Oh yeah, yes, that Nebraska season as well. Yeah, so I need to know which locker rooms they're in. That's obviously just a joke, but I think it's a great way to obviously grow the game internationally. You've seen that with the NFL doing that. They're expanding, Brazil, Germany, Spain. So they're doing a ton of that. So I think that's good, and it exposes people to something that's different and unique is the college sports kind of function that is kind of specific to the United States. So I think that's cool, and gets people internationally to learn more about places like Iowa, because they're used to hearing about Los Angeles and New York and Florida and all those places. So just kind of educates them more and expose them to American football.
Can we get a college football NFL doubleheader on a given weekend? That would be fun.
Ooh, would the logistics of that work? In the same stadium, or just like
you already
the same?
Have pros with turf,
like a same stadium, college football on Saturday, NFL on Sunday, doubleheader.
I don't know if the logistics. Like, I feel like the NFL would be like, no, we're not sharing the stadium. We're not going to do all that.
Yeah, because they would go second.
I mean, that sounds like what the NFL would say. That definitely sounds like a Goodell position. But I think you want to talk about growing the game internationally. I think that would be pretty cool. It would attract a lot of eyeballs, a lot of ticket count.
It would. Okay, so interesting on the schedules before we move on. Arizona State is currently scheduled to open week 1 against Morgan State. Week 2, go to Texas A&M. And so then week 3, they would be going to London to play Kansas. That would be an interesting start to their season. Kansas opens with Long Island, and then we'll play Missouri at home, and then go to London for that game based off the way schedules are now. And then Kansas, and they both have another non-conference game that's currently listed as TBA, because obviously they're going to have to move some things around. I would be very curious if either of those teams are allowed to move something to week 0 to accommodate that week 3 trip to London, and thus getting an idle week in week 4, getting a break, and then be able to start the season early. And as I have said this year, give me all the Big 12 week 0 I can get. I'm happy to have it on the television. So very interesting. We'll continue to watch how that develops, but I love it. I love this stuff. I understand for fans who hate losing home games and well, I can't go to that one. I understand. I do. It's great for those who can. I understand it's hard for those who can't, but just watch it on TV and enjoy it and appreciate what it can bring to your program and to the Big 12 long term by doing these kinds of things. Like, I don't know, getting the money to help you get a better defensive end that might help you, win another game or 2. I don't know, whatever. All right. So let's move on to last week's results. It was a bad week, Chase. It was a real bad week. No one listened to it, thank goodness, because we wasted a lot of time talking right out of our behinds. You and Parker won the week. I'm going to use air quotes by both going 3-6 last week.
Incredible 3-6. Sentence.
Yeah,
you won the week at 3-6.
We all won in the Arizona State TCU game because Arizona State won by 3. Parker had TCU plus 3.5. You and I had Arizona State minus 2.5. So I made the joke on the pod, man, it'd be great if we just split right there. We all won. Well, guess what happened? We all won that one. And then it went downhill from there. Parker missed on Houston minus 13.5, missed on Kansas minus 4.5. We all missed, another consensus curse. Missed on the under 50 in UCF Kansas State. Obviously the Oklahoma State plus 900 money line was not a winner. Hit on Utah minus 12.5, missed on Arizona plus 6.5, missed on BYU minus 6.5. He did hit the over 53.5 in the New Mexico State game. So 3-6 brings our guests to 16-31 on the season. So Bob, Listen, if you go 500, you will surpass everyone else who has been on so far this season. And that's not a shot at our guests because we have very smart guests. It's really hard when you have to pick every Big 12 game because I promise I listened to a lot of different stuff and they're all like, I wouldn't pick half the Big 12 games each week for real life. But for real life here, you're going to have to. So good luck today, sir. Good luck today. Chase, as I said, 3-6 for you. ASU -2.5 was a hit. The misses, or the other ones, were the over 48.5 in Iowa State, Arizona. You won our battle bets bet off again. And Colorado +6.5. The misses were the under 47.5 in Houston, Oregon State. Kansas -4.5, because again, consensus curse. UCF +6.5. Under 57.5 in OSU, Baylor. Under 47.5 in Utah, West Virginia, because Utah basically did all the scoring. And under 46.5 in South Carolina, Kentucky. 3-6 on the week, which is still above 500 on the season at 26-24-1, sir.
Yeah, probably wouldn't have played an under if I knew Dampier was going to play in the Utah game. But the one that pisses me off is the under in the South Carolina-Kentucky game, where it went over by about 2.5 points and there were 2 defensive touchdowns in the game. Brutal loss. I had like 3 of those last week. I mentioned this on the Sunday night pod. Oregon Penn State being 10-3 at the end of the third quarter and losing the under there is just like, what are we doing? So had some rough ones, but
I had that one.
Yep.
I gave that out on CFB900, the Oregon Penn State under, and I did not watch the 2-point conversion play. Like, I already had the TV off. I was so annoyed that like that game went over because it was a dead nut under. It was the right handy. Like, I would make that bet 100 times out of 100 again. Clear right.
It's the right call that goes wrong. Like, the read was right on the game, and then college football happens. Right. That's those ones you're like, how come you didn't get that right? It's because nobody got that right. But we were all right. It just didn't go the way it should have gone. College football happened.
They don't call it undertime.
1-8. I call it 1-8. 1-8. It's the worst. I think it's the worst week I've ever had on this show. Hit on the ASU -2.5. Misses were Houston -7 in the first half. Kansas -4.5. Under 50 in Kansas State UCF. Baylor -20.5 versus Oklahoma State. They won by like 18. Under 47.5 in West Virginia, Utah. Under 49 in Iowa State, Arizona. BYU -6.5. And my Syracuse +5. Every single predictive metric I follow had Syracuse as a favorite in that game. And they got stomped by Duke, who has cursed me when I picked them and cursed me when I pick against them. So if I start to utter anything about a game that's involving Duke football, be like, Phillip, no, bad, stop it, get away, learn your lesson. I'm gonna like remove the word Duke from anything. If it shows up on the screen, it will just be blacked out for my own benefit. So I'm at 22-29 on this season now after a brutal week. So only place left to go is up. Only place left to go.
We'll send you some Duke's gear and we'll get you reprogrammed onto the right team.
If at least find some like vintage, like Blue Devil logo. I love the vintage stuff. That's fine.
No.
Right.
No more Duke, Phillip. This is Duke's. Different team.
Oh, the Mayo?
No. Although they do have an official sponsorship with Duke's Mayo.
The JMU Dukes?
There you go.
Okay. Just making sure I has Duke and the Dukes played each other in football? You know what? That's the conversation for another day. You guys ready to make some picks?
Let's do it.
All right. Let's get started after this break. All right. We have one Friday night game on the docket for the Big 12. It's a little bit of a late one. Should be interesting. Poor West Virginia fans. West Virginia on the road at BYU. And look, Big 12 After Dark games have done very well so far from a number standpoint. But, you got to feel a little bit bad for a team when you've basically got to go cross country and play in a game that doesn't kick off until like 10:30 your time. It's not great, West Virginia.
Sucks.
Fans. Just a pile on top of all the other things about this season. They're not great for West Virginia, like Nico deciding that he's going to redshirt and probably transfer. So I'm sorry, West Virginia fans. I'm really sorry. This one, like I said, Friday night, 9:30 p.m. God's time, 10:30 Mountain Near time in Provo. Right now, BYU is a 19 and a half point favorite. Total in this one, 47 and a half. Chase, you won the week, so you're up first, sir. What would you like to do with this game?
I'm laying 18 and a half. I don't care. We suck. We're crossing multiple time zones. It's a fade target already if the team didn't suck. And Phillip, you've mentioned the BYU after dark, after 10 p.m. stat a lot, so we can name check that here as well. I don't know what the argument is for taking the points with West Virginia, so I will be on BYU here.
Okay. I can't argue against that. I don't have any argument against that. Pretty much every stat sides with that. The thing about the BYU stat after dark is the record straight up is great. The record against the spread is fine. It's not as strong as just the overall winning record. We are talking about a 3 touchdown spread though. For a BYU team that's been good-ish. Bear Bachmeier's not great, but I have to ask real questions. If you're like, is West Virginia even going to like want to play this game? This season already feels a little bit like, ugh. Sorry.
I don't want to watch this game. I can tell you that.
Like, my concern is at that number that like BYU only wins by 7. Screw it. BYU. You know what? I'm riding along with you. You won last week, so I'll assume you'll win this week. And we've been pretty good on our weeknight game. So BYU minus 18.5. Let's just move on. Bob, what would you like?
I'll take under 47.5 in this one. I was on the West Virginia under last week against Utah, and I think a lot of that run out was a little bit just because West Virginia's offense was too incompetent. So that kind of helped Utah a lot in that game. So, but quite frankly, like I like both defensive coordinators in this, Zach Alley and Hill at BYU. And so I think they can control this game pretty good here. West Virginia's defense has been better than I've anticipated. Top 25 in success metric and the overall defensive success rate, 53rd against the pass, 22nd against the run. So I think they can kind of keep it. I don't think West Virginia is going to score, so maybe it's a West Virginia team total under. But for purposes of this, I think we're going to see a lower scoring game. I'll take the under 47.5.
All right.
Bob, I'm flattered you think we'll be any less incompetent this week.
We'll see. I don't have much faith, but it's a similar total than to what the Utah game was lined at last week. I know that priced in some Dampier injury in that a little bit, but I think Utah's offense is a bit better than BYU's. So, still like under here.
Okay. It's all yours. It's all yours, sir.
34-10.
Right.
Perfect.
That would work. Saturday. Arizona State and Utah are off this week. They get to just enjoy a week after a victory and prepare for the next week, in which I believe they face each other. So that's fun. We kicked things off in the morning. Man, I did not do a good job with my notes of getting everything up to date. I'm going to have to kind of do a little bit of this off the cuff by looking things up. We kicked the day off on ESPN2 at 11 a.m. Iowa State traveling to Cincinnati. This one's got trap game written all over it. There's a lot of interesting principles involved in this one that I know Chase will maybe I'll save one for Chase. At the moment, because we talked about this on Sunday, that it was wild that Cincinnati was a favorite, and they still are today, a 1.5 point home favorite over Iowa State. Total in this one, I see 54.5. I see a 55. I see a 55.5. If that's something you want to pay attention to, I got to go first on this one. I do have notes. Let me roll through them. Okay. Let's start with the Cincinnati side. Cincinnati is 100% in the red zone scoring so far this year, which is phenomenal. 14 touchdowns in 17 appearances, 3 field goals. That's fantastic. Cincinnati has given up 1 sack this season. They are fantastic. Parker, our good friend, put out a stat on Twitter that in the Big 12, if you look at points lost by sacks, Cincinnati is the best in the Big 12 at just minus 1.24. They keep Brendan Sorsby protected. Iowa State's 124th in pass rush grade at PFF, and that's going to come against an offensive line that gives Brendan Sorsby all day. Oh, by the way, Iowa State head coach Matt Campbell announced that both starting corners Jeremiah Cooper and John Tez Williams are out for the season. And when starting kicker Kyle Conradi is week to week and won't play this week. So that's not great. Chase, do you want to do the stat here, or would you like me to do it for you?
Go ahead, Phillip. Knock yourself out.
We have the ranked dog versus unranked favorite principle in this game. You take the unranked favorite over the ranked dog because it pays off way more often than it doesn't. Also, unranked home favorite, a field goal or better, which does not apply to this one, with 69% in the last 10 years. Now, I'm going to give you the Iowa State side because we have to be fair and balanced, right? Cincinnati has struggled against the pass. They're really good against the run, but they struggle against the pass. Rocco could have a really, really good game here, and he has been playing really well. And by the way, Chase Sowell, who came on last week against Arizona, it took a few weeks last year for their stud wide receivers who transferred in to catch on. It's about a month now. Transfer from ECU, a lot of promise. He may be clicking at just the right time to go along with their very talented tight ends. Cincinnati is also 128th in QBR allowed. That says if there's some nice prop bets for Rocco Becht, you should probably take them this week. He's probably going to have himself a game. By the way, Rocco Becht is 6-0 straight up in his career as a starter when a Vegas underdog of less than a touchdown. The sum is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not bad. Also, I don't have the stat, so forgive me. But I have talked on this show ad nauseum for years about how bad Matt Campbell is in one-score games. You know who's not bad? And all of a sudden, Matt Campbell is a genius in one-score games. Like his record the last 2+ seasons has been phenomenal. Matt Campbell still sucks in one-score games. You know who doesn't suck in one-score games? Rocco Becht. When Rocco Becht's got the ball, the team's going to find a way to win. Everything screams take Cincinnati. Everything. I'm taking Iowa State plus 1.5. I think Rocco's going to have a phenomenal game. I think we're going to get something similar to Cincinnati, Kansas last week when you had 2 great quarterback showings, a battle between Jalen Daniels and Brendan Sorsby, and Sorsby was able to be the one to win out. I think this time it comes down to Rocco Becht. He's not going to have Conradi as his kicker. He can't just set it up for a field goal. Rocco Becht's going to win this one. Iowa State gets the win, plus 1.5. Bob?
This is from the side perspective. I think I make the game exactly pick first off, so it's just right on my number as far as that goes. For what I'd bet in this game, I'll take that over 54.5. You kind of mentioned some of the advantages that Iowa State has, pointing towards Cincinnati's pass defense, and Rocco Becht, I think, is thoroughly impressed me this year. Obviously, he had two wide receivers go to the NFL last year, and they're still keeping their same level of pass explosiveness after losing that. And at Iowa State, quite frankly, it's hard to replace that kind of wide receiver talent there, just based on recruiting and whatnot there. So Cincinnati's Dante Corleone, I know he didn't play against Kansas. I don't know his status for this one, but I'll be watching that. So if Iowa State maybe can get something going on the ground, I know they haven't been able to run the ball in a couple of years, but maybe that is maybe that can help them as well. And then he mentioned Iowa State missing two corners. I think Sorsby is going to be able to get the ball to his receivers and put up some points as well. I do think it's going to be very similar to the Kansas-Cincinnati game from last week. I think we see points. I'll take over 54.5.
All right, it's all yours. Chase?
I have the exact same handicap as Bob, and it's actually in my my best bets column at BetMGM. Cincinnati defense, 133rd nationally in EPA per pass allowed. So, I mean, you guys nailed it. I think Becht is going to have a great day. I almost never play player props in college. I would be looking at player props for Rocco Becht. I'm going to have his player props in battle bets this week, not to, give away an easy pick that people will now play against me. But I mean, I think that's just a layup. I don't really want to get involved in a side here because I don't know how much stock I should put into the defensive backfield attrition that Iowa State's going to have. I don't really want to go against a trend that I bet almost automatically. So I don't want to get involved in the game. I heard a great breakdown from my friend PJ Glasser today on Odyssey, and his show Send It In, where he was talking about one thing he's noticed with Iowa State this year is that people just, like, by people I mean the betting market. The betting market just isn't a big believer in Iowa State this year. All the way back to week 0, they're kind of a confusing dog to Kansas State. Last week, there was a ton of money coming in on Arizona. People didn't think Iowa State should be that big of a favorite. They blow them out, like on and on and on. And then now they come into this game. They're an outright underdog to a Cincinnati team that is, I mean, the Kansas game was impressive, but Phillip, you and I did it, at the beginning of the week. Iowa State's a dog here. That's weird. So what he sees is the market's just low on Iowa State, and until the market corrects, just keep pounding Iowa State. But I don't want to be involved on the wrong side of this unranked favorite trend. So for me, I didn't want to get involved in a side after all the work. I think the play is the total because Becht is going to have a field day against Cincinnati's bad pass defense, and Sorsby can have a good day as well against a depleted Iowa State secondary. It's over for me, over 54.5.
I like it. I consider the over as well because it just, I just think this is going to be a game with some offense. The trends also say take the under with this one with Iowa State, but I'm just the vibes say this is going to be a higher scoring game, and I just feel like Iowa State's going to pull it off this time. But we shall see. This could be a very interesting game. Look, Cincinnati is this year's Arizona State team that has some, weird loss early, but figures some things out, and maybe they're better than we think. We'll find out. All right. Moving on. We have one more morning game for Big 12 fans. This one on ESPN Plus that tells you how far the Mighty have fallen. The Mighty, of course, being Kansas State, who is on the road at Baylor in Waco. 11 a.m. game. It's an interesting game, but I think all Big 12 games are interesting. So maybe, and I don't mean that as interesting in insult way. I mean, actually kind of an interesting game. Baylor currently a 6.5 point favorite, pretty much consensus across the board. Total in this one is 61.5. Bob, you are up first, sir. What would you like in this one?
Give me the dog. I'll take Kansas State here. I actually think they're live to win the game in this one, so I'll be on that as well. I thought we finally – so something I pay attention to is obviously Kansas State has had a rough start to the season. And when a team's rating and you're just using, last year's FSU as an example, and just continuously falling and falling and falling, we finally saw that, for lack of a better term, dead cat bounce from Kansas State last week against UCF. Also noting that came off a bye. We saw Dylan Edwards finally play. I know that his status was iffy to start the year, and thought he played well in that one, and Avery Johnson played well finally as well. The defense hasn't been a problem for Kansas State. It was the offense. So it's nice to see that get going here. I don't think Baylor can defend, and I think that Kansas State can give the Bears trouble on that side of the ball. So I think this number should be shorter if Kansas State's going to play closer to their preseason rating, and maybe that they've fallen a little bit too far. So I'll take a little bit of value on 6.5 as I make it a little bit closer in the 4.5 range. And like I said, I kind of subjectively think Kansas State is live to win.
All right. It's a nice dog to take. Chase?
My gut reaction was also to take the points with Kansas State because 6.5 felt just a touch too high from me from a point spread market standpoint. The problem is you beat Baylor by running the ball, and Kansas State doesn't really run the ball that well. So I actually prefer the under here. I think when you look at Baylor and Kansas State's offenses, they struggle in third down scenarios. I think when you look at Baylor and Kansas State's defenses, they're actually pretty good on third down. So what that tells me is you're going to have two offenses that really can't stay on the field. I think we're going to see a lot of punting and a lot of field goals. 61.5, pretty big number, partially because of those defensive struggles that Baylor's had. So I'll take under 61.5.
Okay, under 61.5. I'm coming along with you, Chase. I thought about the over a lot, but it's just a little bit higher than I want to touch. Like Baylor's offense has been putting up points. Kansas State's offense may be figuring things out. You know what I'm going to do? You know what? This is our battle bets of the week, Chase. We're going head to head. I am going to take the over.
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah, this is the one.
This
over
might be your boldest one yet because this is a big number.
I know it is. I think Kansas State might have figured some things out on offense. And I think as bad as Baylor's defense kind of is, and as potent as their offense has been, Baylor leads the country in explosive drives per game at 1.08, according to Sharp at CFB. So I'm just going to ride with the over here. I'm going to say this is a higher scoring game than we think because Kansas State's kind of figured some stuff out on offense. Dylan Edwards being healthy should help him out. And maybe things have finally settled with Matt Wells as the OC. So, you know what? We're going to have ourselves a high scoring affair on ESPN Plus, and I am looking forward to watching it. It's fun to go head to head. Speaking of going head to head, that's a terrible transition, but we were back. All right. We've got ourselves one afternoon game, and it is on TNT. And I will just sit here every time on this episode or on the show moving forward, watch the TNT games. Big 12 fans. It is a phenomenal broadcast. They don't get the best games, but it is the closest thing to a Big 12 network, and they do a phenomenal job with the coverage by focusing on the Big 12 conference. Like, they're all in, and they're doing a great job. Like, it only makes the ESPN and Fox coverage of Big 12 look that much worse because of how good they're doing at TNT. So it's on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max all at the same time. So I don't care if it's not a good game. If you've got multiple TVs in your house, and at this point in time, who doesn't? Or you got your mobile phone, just put it on something so that the numbers are clicking up and everyone, TNT goes, yeah, we got to get more Big 12. We're going to spend some more money on this conference because, y'all, it is a good. They are investing, and I want them to invest more. Okay, this one, of course, as I mentioned, they don't get a lot of good games, and this week they're getting Arizona hosting Oklahoma State, 2 p.m. God's time kickoff on TNT. That cough is both real and me looking at the line on this one. Arizona is a 20.5-point favorite. Oh, how the mighty fall when they fall. Total is 55.5. There is a 56 on the board. Chase, you're up first, sir. What you want here?
I hear everything you're saying about the TNT broadcast, Phillip, but come on, man. I got to watch this game. Come on.
Just put it on a screen in the other room and leave it on. It's okay. You don't have to watch it. You've got more than one TV. Just put it on a game in like the bedroom and go back to the living room and watch whatever you want to watch. Okay? Just get them the numbers. That's all.
I will watch it, Phillip, and you know why? Because I'm taking Oklahoma State in the points. I think Bob used the term dead cat bounce. I think that is semi what we got with Oklahoma State last week. I think it's going to last for maybe 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks. I think Arizona's the better team here. But like a month ago, we were talking about the Wildcats as in the conversation for the worst team in this conference. And all of a sudden now they're laying 20 points in a conference game. It's a bit much. And, it's college football. People win by 3 touchdowns sometimes, and nobody has any illusions about how bad this Oklahoma State team is. But if I got to pick the game, I'll take the points. And if I get burned, I get burned. It's just one of those games.
Okay. I get the dead cat bounce. I always want to call it the dead coach bounce because it makes more sense than dead cat bounce, given we're talking college football and not, animals. But, and I agree. The Oklahoma State got it last week. The offense looked fine. Now, Baylor's head coach is like, no, it was pretty much what we expected. They just threw some more trick plays than Mike Gundy would. And they covered a 20.5 point spread from Baylor. They only gave up 18 points. But the opt-outs, they have a come, folks. OSU's interim head coach, Doug Beacham, fired Todd Grantham, the DC. They have promoted Clint Bowen, Kansas fans know that name, to be the interim DC, who was just an analyst there. You're seeing multiple defensive opt-outs already, including defensive linemen, 2 DBs. And this is on a defense that wasn't playing very well to begin with. I don't have the stat, but I would bet good money that a team's against the score, or the team's ATS record, the second game after a head coach gets fired in season, is pretty bad. Because I think you get that dead cat bounce and let's see how far this cat can bounce. The cat's got 1 bounce in him, and then it's splat. And you've got an Arizona team who just got embarrassed by Iowa State coming home against an Oklahoma State team where players are quitting. You're firing coaches. The season is what it is. I can't believe I'm going to do it a second week in a row, but I'll take Arizona at home, minus 20.5. I just don't see it. I don't. And if my Cowboys prove me wrong again, then so be it. Okay? That's fine. They'll only lose by 20 this time. And it'll still hurt. But I'll take Arizona to get the cover. Bob,
last week,
last
week, our guest, just for context, took Oklahoma State money line plus 900. So
wow.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're interested in that approach to the game.
I am not. I don't have one of those on my card this week. At least I don't think so.
Wouldn't advise.
But yeah, I will. I'll lay it with Arizona. In this one, I'll lay the 20.5. I agree with Phillip's handicap there. Very concerned about the defensive opt-outs, and then I'm not as concerned about Arizona performance at Iowa State last week. I think that game kind of got away from them early, and just kind of snowballed. And I think we get a way better effort here from the Wildcats at home. So I do think that the second game off of, again, another round of turnover and the red shirts really affect the Cowboys here. And I think everything kind of starts to settle in, and they start thinking about their futures, quite frankly. So yeah, I think we get Arizona by margin here.
Let me just give a note here, a little nugget on the opt-outs. I had the good fortune when I was younger and I was working for a series of newspapers to learn a lot at the elbow of Hall of Fame quote machine and former JMU football coach Mickey Matthews, who once explained to me in colorful terms that when you have a team that isn't very good and your starter gets hurt and you're replacing them with younger contributors, it doesn't really matter because you're replacing bad with bad is the PG way to represent what he told me. So I just, that's one thing I consider when we get to this part of the year in a totally different context, obviously, with the 4-game red shirt and the NIL and all this stuff. But sometimes I think with a team like Oklahoma State, when you start putting the young guys that are hungry to play, but maybe not as technically proficient as the guys who were starting, I wonder if the enthusiasm and the energy often makes up for the experience deficiency.
Okay.
I can see that.
Perhaps. And what's interesting is Parker always does his how bad did really good beat graphics that he puts out on Mondays.
Yeah.
The Iowa State-Arizona one did not line up with the final score. Because if you look at it, Arizona had only 30 yards of offense less than Iowa State, but had 25 fewer points. You had a missed field goal, 2 turnovers on downs. Like, it really was a game that, like, everything that could go wrong for Arizona in that fashion went wrong. And then it just snowballed. Like, they could never get the ball to bounce their way. And so I don't think they're as bad as Iowa State made them look. I think when you lose like that and you get to come home against a frankly bad team, you have an opportunity to make them feel bad. You're going to do it. All right. Moving on down to our night games. We have 3 of them, basically all at the exact same time. Thanks, everyone. Not helpful at all for anyone. Thank goodness the ESPN Quad Box is back. Alas, you can only watch 2 of these. First one up is the 6 o'clock God's time on ESPN in Houston. The Cougars hosting Texas Tech's Red Raiders off of an idle week. Ooh, this game should be fun. At the moment, Texas Tech is, as I scroll down because I was doing things instead of scrolling, a 10.5 to 11-point favorite. Total in this one is 51.5. There's a 52.5. There's another 51. I am up first. I do have some notes here. Baron Morton has been cleared from concussion protocol. Will play quarterback for Texas Tech. I do think that is a big deal for them. I think last week's performance from Houston against Oregon State has created some value in this line. I think both teams played Oregon State, Texas Tech at home, smashed them. Houston leaves the city of Houston for the first time all season. Not just the state of Texas, the city of Houston for the first time, goes all the way up to Oregon State, has a tough game, has to mount a big comeback in overtime to get a win. But there's some interesting things here. And shout out, as I mentioned, we've talked BetUS a few times, but I want to give them the shout out for some of this. If you beat a top 25 team as an underdog, which Texas Tech did 2 weeks ago against Utah, and then play an unranked team as a favorite, in the last 4 seasons, you go 38% against the spread. It's 21-40 against the spread in the last 2 seasons. That's 34%. That applies to Texas Tech in this situation. Yes, Texas Tech, like I said, is coming off of an idle week. That doesn't necessarily something that applies to this stat. But since 2021, 2 undefeated teams facing off after week 5. This is the 5th time that's happened. The home team is an underdog. That home team is 3-0-1 against the spread. It is a teeny tiny sample. Completely and totally. I leaned the under here because I think these are 2 really good defenses, and I think Texas Tech, I think this will be a lower scoring affair than people think. I'm going to take Houston to cover at home. I'm taking Houston plus 11. I don't think they're going to get the win here. I absolutely think this game is close and Texas Tech does enough to kind of pull away late, kind of like they did against Utah, but not to that extreme. But I think Houston's going to give Texas Tech a real fight in this one. Bob?
Full agree, but I'm going to take the under here as my preferred play. But I do lean with Houston and the points as well. Similar things. I think these are two really good defenses, and I do actually, just generally speaking, I like a win, like a comeback win like that when you don't play your best for a team like Houston. I think that's actually like impressive. Hey, we don't have it all today. We're in a weird spot, a weird place. Like that's a weird travel going up to Corvallis, underrated home field there at Oregon State, and that team was desperate for a win as well. So I actually like I'm impressed by Houston gritting out a win in a not not great fashion, but a win's a win for them. I think that's great for them as a program. But yeah, as you mentioned, I'm impressed by both defenses in the early going. Morton is gonna play. Obviously, he left the Utah game, didn't return. But I want to see how he is. Prove it to me. He's someone who's been often injured and whatnot. And as far as offensively go, like Houston's not been great in terms of down to down. So that's going to obviously help here with the under. And then Texas Tech, and I pulled this up. Games on Paper is a great resource for statistics. Texas Tech, 136 out of 136 in average third down distance of their offense, 9.32 yards on third downs. Is there so 3rd and 9 is essentially the average of what they face, worst in the country. However, 3rd and 4th down success rate, they're top 20 in the country. So if this Houston defense, and I trust this Houston defense to stop them on 3rd and long, which will help the under here. So yeah, under 51.5. Wherever that, let me know wherever that 52 is. I'd like to know.
The 52.5 is at, I'm going to bet it's ESPN. Is it ESPN? Let's find out. It's Fanatics. Fanatics has a 52.5.
Okay.
And it's on our board, so we're going to let you have it.
All right. I'll take that.
All right. Chase?
Again, I'm lockstep with Bob here. I'm on the under. I think Texas Tech's defensive line is going to wreck a Houston offense that is susceptible to being wrecked already. And I think that's really going to help the under here. And then I think Texas Tech, for all of their explosive potential, I think Houston's defense will have some success here on several drives. And so I think this is we're going to see probably some explosive plays, but also a lot of field goals and punts. So I like the under.
All right.
Also, Willie Fritz is one of my favorite coaches in America, and I just want to say that.
Oh, for good reason.
This is a Willie Fritz podcast.
Yeah, pro Willie Fritz podcast here. Always. All right. We've got 2 games at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. First one we're going to talk about is on Fox. TCU hosting Colorado. Revenge game from 2 years ago, perhaps, perchance, maybe. I don't know. It could be. This is. I so want to try and push this one as an interesting game. It's football will be played on Saturday. Right now, TCU, there is a 12.5 out there, but pretty much it's 13.5 across the board outside of one particular book. Totals anywhere from 57.5 to 58.5. That is a 53.5. That's not right. No, there's no way there's a 53. No. I believe, Bob, you were up first here in this one. What would you like, sir?
Yeah, you kind of mentioned it, and I typically hate these. So first off, this is a number edge for me. I do make this on the other side of 14 in the game. So I'm going to lay it with TCU here. I do often hate these kind of angles, the revenge kind of stuff, but it wouldn't surprise me here if TCU and Sonny Dykes does have this one circled after Colorado defeated TCU as 3 touchdown dogs. And I could see them trying to pour it on here against the Buffaloes now that they have a real chance to do so. So I'll lay it here now. Generally speaking, just about TCU, just a note, because this is a team I've been on and I've kind of been high on all year. I do have concerns about TCU on early downs. They're outside the top 100 in early down EPA, but number 1 on third down success rate. So as someone who has, like I said, been on TCU, Josh Hoover's pulled a rabbit out of his butt a couple times this year. So I'd like to see that cleaned up. I do think they'll have an opportunity to do that here against the Buffaloes. So yeah, I'll lay it here with TCU.
Chase?
Finally, I can do something different than Bob. I'm going to go Oppo here. I'll take the points with Colorado. I think they are kind of sneaky. I don't want to say dangerous, but like if you're going to give them a fat point spread, I think this is a very high variance team. So I really like the idea that a lot of that bell curve is going to fall inside of 13.5 points. I would do some real funky stuff. Like I think depending on what money line number you can get, I might play that. It's funny you mentioned the revenge angle, Phillip, because I saw Josh Nunn over at Action saying TCU will absolutely remember that 2023 opener against Dion. Like, it's the transfer portal era. You really think the kids at TCU, like however many of them are left, were like really thinking about, hey, remember 28 games ago when we opened the 2023 season in August against Colorado and we didn't know what they were going to run and they beat us? You remember that? Like the idea that so hypothetically, if you were there in 2023, you might also have been there the previous year when they went to the national championship game. So that's just a crazy angle to me to be playing the like, oh, TCU's going to run it up revenge angle. TCU, if they cover, it's going to be because they are offensively a way better, higher ceiling, consistent team that is constantly, it feels like, undervalued this year and underappreciated for their mechanics and consistency. But I just feel like this is a lot of points. And if you're getting good Salter, if you're getting like the positive version of what their offense could be, which is a big if. I'm not saying it's not, but if you're getting that, then I think they're live to win the game. I think they could be in it in the fourth quarter.
What's the TCU team total that you have?
All right, here we go. Let's find out. Let's pull up the old company site here.
Well, I have Bet Saracen, but I'd rather use. No one has that, but Arkansas native residents. Like myself.
Which one are you looking for? TCU or Colorado?
TCU team total.
So in our shop, I am seeing 34.5 juiced 135, but I can look on Action and see what other numbers I see.
I'll take 34.5. So I'm taking the over. And I have 35.5 here. So if I can get a 34.5, I can get under 35. I'll take it. TCU team total minus 34.5. That's my notes. Also, TCU is second in the Big 12 and tied for 18th nationally, averaging 3 sacks per game. And you remember that stat I mentioned earlier about expected points lost to sacks, and Cincinnati is at minus 1.94 because their offensive line's really good. Colorado leads the Big 12. I don't know where they are nationally at minus 27.6. So TCU scores a lot of points. Colorado doesn't. So I will take the TCU team total over 34.5. Okay. Last Big 12 game on the slate for us, another night game. I keep wanting to say interesting. I don't know what to make of this game at all. I have no notes. We'll just have to go by vibes. UCF, coming off their loss to Kansas State, hosting another team from the Sunflower State, that being the University of Kansas. Kansas currently it is all over the place. There's a 3.5, a 4.5, a 5. Kansas the favorite here. Well, it's going to roll with 4.5. That's about the most consistent number I see. Total is 54.5, just about across the board. I believe. Chase, you're up first, sir. What would you like?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll take Kansas minus the points. I'm totally same page as you, Phillip. I have no feel for this game. I don't know what to expect. But I mean, hypothetically, you're getting Kansas on a buy low opportunity after last week. UCF, if you trust the priors there, we don't think very much of them. So I guess I'll lay the points, but I mean, you want to talk about games I don't have a feel for? This is it.
Yeah, I feel like either like Kansas blows out UCF or UCF somehow ekes out a low-scoring, gross, ugly win. Like Jalen Daniels has been phenomenal so far to start this year. He's been really good. I would expect the same thing from him on the road this week against UCF, whose offense is not as good as the bad teams have made it look, and the defense is not as good as the bad teams have made it look. Even though they're going to be at home in the bounce house, Kansas should win this game, but this has weird, ugly, odd game written all over it. So I'll ride with you and think that Kansas bounces back because like they were the better team against Cincinnati, but Cincinnati on the lines was just better than Kansas was, and so I'm going to take Kansas. Part of it is we get -3.5. Like it makes me a little bit nervous. I wish it was a 3. I don't know why they're such a big favorite. I think that's my thing for Kansas is like I don't feel comfortable with Kansas -4.5. There's a 3.5 out there, thank goodness, but I'll ride with Kansas as well. Like they should win this game. Jalen Daniels is the best player on the field for either team. I would expect him to have a good game. So we'll roll with the Jayhawks. Bob?
So it looks like we have consensus here as far as this game being the one that
we're doomed.
We all have the least opinion on. The opinions I've shared on the show tonight, I have the least amount of confidence in this one. For some reason, my numbers do have showed value against UCF still. So off by a couple points. I know that the UNC game, I couldn't get to that number. I can't get to this number as far as I have Kansas closer to 6.5 here. So I'll take Kansas, but I do that with very low confidence in this one. I do think they're the better team. I don't know who's playing quarterback for UCF this week. I don't know if Scott Frost knows who's playing quarterback this week. For his sake, I hope it's not Cam Fancher. But yeah, I'll take the Jayhawks in this one.
I'm sorry, Kansas, we've doomed you. There's such a thing as the consensus curse here on the 1012 podcast. It does not go well when we all agree. So we shall see what happens here. Okay, we wrap this show up the same way every week. Everyone gets to make one pick from any non-Big 12 game on the weekend slate. I'm up first. I'm going to make this real simple. I don't have a lot of reasoning other than I don't know why this line is as short as it is. Give me San Diego State -6 versus Colorado State. Colorado State's offense is terrible. I don't know why San Diego State's only a 6-point favorite at home. I know it's a weeknight game, yada, yada. SDSU should cover this and cover it comfortably. San Diego State -6. Bob?
Well, I thought I was going to be the creative one and going to a weeknight affair. But we're going to go to CUSA. I like Delaware, -2.5 against Western Kentucky. Spot play here. Short week, back-to-back travel for Western Kentucky. Delaware off a bye. Markets even faded Western Kentucky back-to-back weeks against Missouri State and Nevada. The Blue Hens are 2-1 this season against FBS competition, and they've done so with their backup quarterback. And they were really close to covering versus Colorado in their first FBS game in week 2. Backup Nick Marcucci, I thought he's impressed this season, 65% completion, 1,000 yards, 8-2 touchdown interception ratio, all the basic stats there. But I actually think this Blue Hens team is pretty talented for a team making its transition to the FBS. And honestly, going up to CUSA from FCS isn't that big of a jump. But I like the Blue Hens to get the win on to get the win on Friday night. So give me Delaware. I'll lay the 2.5.
I got a 2 for you at Caesars, so there you go.
Excellent.
CUSA slander always welcome here on the 1012 podcast. I love the G6s, but it is what it is. Chase, what's your pick this week, bud?
Hey, Delaware did cover depending on where you got the number. If I recall.
Oh because I did the general close, but yes.
I think Colorado did. Yeah, to your point, they covered the closing number by the hook. Yeah.
Yeah, it was floated 24 and 23.5, 24.5. Yeah, it did. Yeah.
So I actually did a lot of work on that Delaware game this week because I was eyeing the Western Kentucky side, but I couldn't get there for a lot of the reasons that you pointed out. I kind of have two circled this week that I really, really like. Unofficially, I will give out the old alma mater there, JMU. I got it at 19.5. It is, I think, 20 now in most places. I've seen some 20.5s. Georgia State, absolutely dead last, 136th in rush EPA per rush allowed. JMU just ran for like 330 some yards against Georgia Southern last week. Georgia State's run defense is even worse than theirs. So I think JMU can kind of name the number here, and 19.5 is a pretty light number, all things considered. I would make this closer to 27.5. So I think this is actually a pretty big market gap. So there's that to consider. If you live outside the state of Virginia, which most people listening to this podcast probably do, you can go get that number. And then the other one I like that we will grade officially here for the show, Louisville 6.5. We talked about the Cincinnati Iowa State game earlier and the power of the unranked favorite playing the ranked dog. Well, this is the other one this week, and this is the one that I will be rolling with. UVA, off of the double overtime big win against Florida State, now goes on the road, is nominally ranked there in that 24 spot, and they opened as a 7.5 point road dog at Louisville. For some reason, this has been steamed to 6.5. I already took a piece, and I mean in the last few hours has steamed to 6.5. I already took a piece at 7.5, but I thought this might have a chance to get to 7. And now it's even better than that at 6.5. So I will be taking, once we get off of this podcast, a very large chunk of Louisville minus 6.5, and we'll use it here on the show for me as well.
I wondered if you would take that when I saw the unranked home favorite versus the ranked dog. There's a couple other ones I want to spit at you. I really was tempted by Vandy at Alabama. Vandy at this point is a... What's that line at? 10.5 point favorite.
10.5 last I saw. Yep.
Wins as a dog in a top 25 matchup. That's Alabama last week. Who are a favorite the next week. That's Alabama. Are 86, 111, and 3 against the spread. Since 2021, it's 15 and 26, failing to cover by a field goal per game. Plus, it's Vandy, Alabama. Vandy was interesting to me in that one. There's a Service Academy game.
Can I stop you there? Can I just...
Yeah.
Can I talk you through the how I see that game?
Yeah.
It's the over for me because I think both offenses are going to be successful and both defenses are going to struggle to get off the field. However, if you made me play a side, I would actually play the Alabama side of it. You make a great point about the market evolution and the overcorrection to Alabama. But because Vanderbilt, I think Alabama's passing defense is going to have an advantage in the passing game against Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt's going to be pretty successful on the ground. But if Alabama starts to pull away, I think Vanderbilt's going to struggle to pass when Alabama drops everybody because that's going to be their advantage defensively in the game. And so that's going to make it hard to backdoor the number. So I would, if you made me, I would lay it with Alabama.
Okay.
I laid 9.5 when it got there Monday, but
ooh, you got 9.5. Good for you.
Yeah, but so at current hard, but I think we might see a flat 10 come at some point later in the week. So I think this is one where whatever side you prefer, make sure you get that hook or don't get that hook. Essentially, lay 10 or bet. I think there's an 11 out there, but definitely get that side that you want. But I personally laid Bama at a better number.
There's also the tried and true Service Academy unders, which are 46, 12, and 2 since 2005. We've got Navy versus Air Force. Total in that one's 51.5. I see a 52 as well. Consider that one.
Danger.
I know. But every time I've got into it all these years and it's like, oh no, it could be this. Just like, no, just do it. Like, it's just, they just play different when they play each other. Like, that's one of the things is like, it doesn't matter what these teams do outside of Service Academy games. When they play each other, this is just what happens.
Went over last year. Navy Air Force went over last year.
That's true. Okay.
So interested by that total.
I just laid it with Navy. I didn't play the total.
Yeah, I didn't play any. I have nothing there.
The last one, I read this stat for Texas Tech, right? If you beat a top 25 team as an underdog and then play an unranked as a favorite the last 4 seasons, you're 38% against the spread, 21-40 against the spread in the last 2 years, it's 34%. It applied to Texas Tech. It also applies to Illinois this week. It's another one to have to keep an eye on. So you want to look at trends to try and look at and fade. And you might, all right, boys, this has been fun. Bob, you have been fantastic. Really appreciate it. Having you hop in last minute for us to join us tonight. It was an absolute treat. Do me a favor, plug the show, plug it all. Where can everybody find your coverage of college football betting?
Yep. Thanks again for having me on. It's been a fun time. CFB900. We go live at about 7 o'clock on Sundays and Wednesdays with our show, and then the prop show comes out Friday mornings. But actionable college football info, and we try to do it in 15 minutes or less, or 900 seconds. So check me out there on Twitter at BobbyDigital2. And like I said, thanks for having me on. It was a good time tonight.
Appreciate it. Chase, got anything to plug?
Picks are already out on the BetMGM blog. Go check it out. Should have the link in the show notes. Bob's wearing a Circus Sports shirt. They don't sell those at Walmart, guys. Guy knows what he's talking about.
Can't just go to Amazon and get one. That's not how. Meanwhile, Chase has put on his Mega Millions.
Solidarity. Yeah.
There you go. And I'm just sitting here rocking a shirt with Pistol Pete serving a Razorback head.
I looked for a Big 12 shirt in my home field collection, but I didn't have one. At least that wasn't a sweater. Yeah.
Hey, nobody asked, but 8-2 in millions the last 2 weeks. Feeling great about my entry. Yeah.
Ooh, attaboy. All right. Y'all enjoy the games this weekend, and we'll talk to y'all again on Monday.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
With fall in full swing, more moments call for more comfort. Mack Weldon's got all the essentials for comfortable, easy-to-layer clothes designed for cooler days and timeless style you can count on. Their new Ace line, inspired by their best-selling sweatpants, combines everyday comfort with long-lasting and effortless looks. Not flashy, just classic, always in style, and made from the world's most comfortable performance materials. Fall into comfort with Mack Weldon's Ace collection. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 20% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code MAC25.